Hey, it's Don the Auction Professor. Today I wanted to cover storage today. Now I've got a ton of questions. I do have some other videos that do touch on storage, but I've had a ton of questions lately on my Facebook group and here on YouTube about literally how I store everything. So I'm going to go over it a little more in detail. I'll show you some of the other items and how I store things. I'll show you some of the items I use to store them. And I'll talk about where I get them from. We'll start with what I do the most of, which is paper. I sell more paper than anything else. It's at least 40% of my business. In some cases, it's even higher than that. But for the most part, I store most everything in these bins or totes, whatever you want to call them here. I get these in 10 packs at Walmart for about $8.98 for 10 of these bins with the lids. It's probably the best price you can get on these. And then I keep, as many as I can fit in here into these. Now I also have these here, which are safety guard supplies. These are for separators for postcards, basically. You can buy these on eBay. I'll have links to all the items that I use, including these and the little sleeves, because I put everything in sleeves in here. So we'll show you those at the end as well too, and I'll explain what can fit in each item as well too. But with paper items here, literally they're all the same. I've got a ton of these bins, as you see. They go back several rows. I got them here. I've got some more on the other side here and other shelving units. But in one of these bins, you've got $1 or less into a bin. And then you can buy, these packs. I buy them in 200 or so, I think, at a time. They're not as easy to get as, like, the sleeves that go, that you can put the paper items in. But I still buy these constantly. Whenever I can, I buy a big bunch of 200 or so. And that way I've got a month or two's worth of supplies. So what I have to also do when you put these in these bins is you will notice that these are actually too big for these bins. So I actually cut them down. I made one as a template, and then I cut each corner down, and then I cut the sides off so they fit perfectly into here. Once you've got one cut, it's just a quick, easy thing. You can paper cut them on the side if that's what you want, but that's literally what I do. Then I'll write a number on here and a permanent marker, and then I always run a piece of tape over it. That way it doesn't wear off, because even with a permanent marker, with the use that these things get in and out all the time, you want to protect the writing so you don't smear it off or anything like that, because it doesn't stick great on these plastics. So again, just a piece of standard tape goes across these when I do them. And when I'm doing these for storage, everything is numbered on here. Like this bin is F30 through F43. My F category goes up to, I think, like 170. So I've got different bins for everything across the board, and then I've got bins for other numbers like P's, T's, Z's, whatever the case may be. I've got maybe 17,000 pieces of paper in bins just like this across the board for everything. And when you need to find something, like for this bin here, if I'm looking for something, I go to F32. Let's say I'm picking something out of F32. I look for the bin that has F32, and you're just a matter of pulling down to the line. There's the card for F32. Obviously, I don't want to lose my spot, but that's F32. And then you can just pull everything out of there and then just sort it and pull out whatever you need. Now, I keep a lot of items in plastic in storage because these are old vintage types of paper. So you definitely want to make sure that they're well protected. Not everything, but I usually put something wrapped on the front and something wrapped usually in the back end of it so that there's, buffer in there. And then sometimes you'll find everything, in plastic bags. And sometimes I don't have, hardly anything in plastic in these bins. But it just depends on the item and material itself, on how fragile it is. So that's just the basics on it. Like, let's say you had something that was too long. I stick them on the side, and then I think I actually have a note on these. Let me see here. One of these hasn't yet. And then I'll put a note on the card that says on the side, or some in D, or if I have to put them in a different bin and split things up because of size, I'll just put a little note on the card, and then boom, I know right where to go for everything. So that's literally what I do with all these small items. Every one is in a bin. They're all the same. This has been F44 through F58. Again, I just randomly pick a certain amount of material in here to go in here. So I always, just randomly grab something. I'll give an employee a number, and they'll just go from there. It's just that easy. As you can see, they're all bin numbered and labeled across. They all match the numbers on here. It's super easy to find anything this way. And I put the actual bin number that the item goes into in the title. I know some people put it in the special section there, but anybody can instantly see the minute they see a sold item on where to pull it from to actually ship it by looking at the title and nothing more, you know, because, you know, there might be different bins and you have to constantly be looking for that bin all the time. If I just pull up a list of the sold items, the bin number is in the title. So again, if let's say you've got, you know, special sourcing and you've got 10 different bins you're pulling from, you would have to search for each one of those bin numbers, you know, through the, you know, SKU number, whatever the case may be on what you're using on eBay. Again, I just throw them in the title. I don't care if it kills a few letters of space in the title, and I don't care if it looks weird on there at all either. They're more interested in the item. Once in a blue moon, I get a question, is that some catalog number to look this up in a price guide? You know, no big deal. At least I know somebody's looking at the listing. So that's literally all it is to that. And I'll show you all the bags and stuff I get at the end. As I said, there's links down below to every item that I'm showing you here too, other than the bins, because those are just Walmart bins. So anyway, and again, they're all like that. Every one of these bins is labeled the same way, same system. This is one of the P columns, P34, P49. Now what you can do on some of these, like P, I originally started just for postcards so I could differentiate on which bin to go. But nowadays I don't even worry about that. It doesn't matter what goes in these bins. Here is P43. And I even put postage stamps. You know, these are actually poster stamps. So basically postage stamps. I'll put anything that fits in one of these bins in a bin just like this. I don't care if I'm mix matching, if I have postcards in here and then stamps and trade cards in the same P34 or P whatever number I'm using, it doesn't matter. It's a lot easier when you're doing that too, because you can put multiple items and use the same number many times over and still easily find it, because it's easy to tell the difference between postcards versus trade cards versus stamps. So that's why I do it this way here. And we've done it other ways. When we first started, I had no clue that I needed to keep bins, but once we hit 1,000 cards up, it was just almost impossible to have to look through all those all the time. So, you know, that's one thing. And also what you can do, let me pull another bin out. If you've already started your stuff without bin numbers, there's an answer for that too. This is one of my oldest ones in this facility here. These are Victorian trade cards, and we just sorted them by the type. So all the soaps are in one bin, all the shoes are in another, and then we just sort through them that way. Because this thing used to be, we used to have 3 bins of, you know, unnumbered ones, and we've now eliminated it down to just 1, or actually it's almost less than 1 at this point. So anyway, that's what you do with that. And with postcards, let me grab some postcards. And with postcards, we did the same thing. We listed a bunch of postcards. We didn't have them numbered at the time when we first started. So what we did, and this is old, so I don't have the plastic cards in here. We pull them out of here, you know, daily, and it's actually went down. We had 3 bins or so of these too, and we've actually went ahead and it's down to less than a bin now. So, you know, that just tells you how many postcards we do sell. But I just separated them by category. So I've got a transportation, I've got a military, I've got a real photo, and then I listed them by state. So the ones that I didn't bin number, I can just sort through by that way. So if it's a California card, I pull out California cards. If it's a foreign one, I pull out a foreign one or a holiday or whatever the case may be. And another item for storage are these. These are from my tape. I've got hundreds of these that I save. I use these for cushioning in the boxes. You can use them for records, 78s. We tape them together, and we can use them in many different ways as a spacer to stop the cards from sliding around. So you tape 3 together, 4 together. You can double tape them so you've got 2 rows in this same bin here. And that works just as easily as anything else, because otherwise what happens is the cards will slide around when you don't fill a bin up. So while you're working on a bin, save these and just simply tape them together. Let me show you some more of these, what I do with these. Now, I've just taped these together. Again, these are just the empty you know, spools or stock from my tape that we buy. And let's say you're just starting off with the bin, you only got 30 or 40 cards in here, just slide this into there. Obviously it won't fit because of the cards, but just slide this into there. That fills up the space and allows you to start a bin. And then I've got different sizes. You know, 3 tall, 4 tall. We've got double sides that can slide in like this. And again, I use these for cushioning on 78 records, for separators in magazine racks and things like that too. So these come in handy. I've saved hundreds of these, and I use them all the time, almost daily. One of these comes in handy for something. I've got some that are 4 tall, some that are, you know, double this wide, so it's like a 4 block of these. So these come in handy all the time. I use these all the time. Every single day that I'm doing something, I use these. So, you know, it's just that simple. These are free. It's just a little bit of tape and boom, you're all set. So these are good for dividers. They're good for cushioning. They're good for spacing. They're good to hold the stuff in the bins across the board. So, you know, that's all there is to it. And again, I label and put a sticker or put tape across these. This is just a piece of paper that I've written on, and you know, and then I've just taped it onto the side of these, so I can change this anytime. I don't have to worry about that. You can just rip this off and put another piece on, or just tape something else over it if you change the bins. I've had these bins forever. I've used these bins for almost 5 years now, so they work perfectly fine. Sometimes you'll have to watch out, because if the cards are tall that you're putting in there, you'll have to cut off part of the plastic so that they don't smash the top of the card. Nowadays, we don't do it this way. I'll show you in just a minute here what I do for the big ones. But rule of thumb is, if anything fits in these sleeves, it's safe to put in one of these bins. So again, if it fits in the standard 3 11/16 by 5 3/4 inch sleeves, it will fit in one of these bins without hurting or doing any damage to the card. If it's over that, I'm going to show you what to do with that in just a second here. Again, I put them back in the spot. They've got their own little cubbies they go into. Everything in here has been measured out, so I know where it goes. You always stick out the labels out so you know where to pull them from. Let's pull another item here. Now, I've shown this too. This one's not labeled, but usually I label them all. The one right behind it you can see is labeled. It's the same thing. We're going to take this off, and I'm going to show you as well too. This is the other way. And this is the other way I store them. Now, I've messed up on the writing here. Don't worry about that. But this is my and file. Now, this is anything bigger than that. Anything else that's in my inventory goes in one of these. Now, I bag them separately if that's the case. This has many different items in this particular one here. I've got postcards, trade cards, prints, etchings, engravings, labels, die cuts. You name it, it's in here. And this is just my and a bin, and it goes through the entire alphabet. This whole thing is full. This thing weighs probably 5 or 10 pounds minimum, with just paper. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 7 of these accordions full. These are literally just ordered offline. You can order 5 or 10 of these at a time. I will have the link to everything below. As I said, you'll be able to buy these there. These bins, though, are from Walmart. They're like $6 or $7 when they're on sale. I'll buy 10 of those at a time. But you can fit postcards, whatever you want in here. And again, I bag stuff that's delicate. So I've got small items, tickets. There's some invitations. There's some labels in here, and the same thing. It's all labeled, again, by and A, or and B, C, D, E, F, G. So, again, this works great. I've got these bags, which you can also order off of eBay. And there's different sizes of bags. I'll show you some bags down in the links below, so you can just take your pick on what you need. But again, anything I can fit in this goes right in here. If it's bigger than this, I've got another option, which I use these other bins, which I'll show you in just a second. So it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if I'm mix mashing trade cards and stamps or whatever the case may be. I just mix them all together in here because I'm just pulling them from the same bin. It's rather easy. Die cuts, the whole works, just goes right on into here. And on these, when they're full, you can actually fit 2 of those in one of the standard big size Walmart bins. So it's very easy to do. And then they just slap back into here. We'll just pop it back up in here and reshelf it. So that's what I do with the large items too. Bin them and number everything. I don't care what it takes, label it. Again, I know what's in this one, so I should have a label on here. Next time you'll probably see a label on this one here. But it's just that simple. Anything too big for the normal 8.5 by 11 or so will fit in any of these accordions. And they make different sizes of accordions, so if this isn't suitable for you, just move up on it. Let's show you some other items here. Again, it doesn't matter what I have. It all goes in bins here. Like, this is all metal items here. And it literally says what's on it. There's lighters, there's pens, there's stuff like that. Bags of lighters. Everything is bagged too. Now, I've got Ziploc bags too, like jeweler's bags. These are 100 bag counts. I buy these 1,000 at a time. It's 3 by 4, 3 inch by 4 inch, 2 mil. Everything I buy is 2 mil, and they're Ziplocs. These I use for anything small. pocket knives, lighters, as you see, jewelry even goes in these, and then I have smaller ones I buy in 1,000 as well too, and these are 2" by 2" 2 mil bags, and they're really cheap. So, and again, they're Ziplocs, and I put jewelry in these. So again, everything is labeled, everything has a number, everything has a place to go on the shelf, so as long as everybody knows and can read, there's no problem finding anything. Let's show you some other items here. And again, same thing, everything is labeled. This has patches, matchbooks, felts, railroad items, TV and music, small collectibles like pins and buttons. And then here's another one. This is photographs. These are 8 by 10s. And I've got many bins of 8 by 10s. Literally, that's all it looks like. You can see I've got some of these in here too. And what I actually do is I'll label them. I'll put a piece of paper for the first group. The first group of these type of stills is A1. And I use A1 for many, many things because I can sort it by the bin number. So this is photos, so it doesn't matter if A1 shows up for a trade card because that's in a different area and in a different bin. So A1, these are all A1s. I'm sorry, hang on just a second here. This group is A1. And then after I get so many in A1, I'll just start another one, A2. And they stay very nice, very flat, very well protected in this bin. There's 400 photos plus. There's, I think, 452 photos in this one bin alone right here. And then I sometimes put other things on the side. I used to have a bunch of DS games in here. I have one game left out of all the DS that I put up about 2 weeks ago. They're very good sellers, especially on Amazon. So, and I cross-list most everything like that. But that's literally all there is to a lot of the items that we store. It's just binning them in a proper way. So again, photos will fit in here. You can put sheet music in here the same way. Just put a piece of paper that's a little bigger than the sheet music if that's the case and that's what you're doing. So let's put this back. And again, everything's in a bin. So it's just real easy to find stuff. I know people say they can't find stuff. They're not familiar with it. Let me grab another one so I'll give you another idea. Here's jewelry now. This is jewelry from N52 on up. So if it's in the N category of a jewelry item, it's in here. And I've talked about these little bags. Everything in here is in a bag, and it's all numbered. There's a number on every piece of jewelry in here with a piece of paper. These are the same pieces of paper that I use, the posties that I use to actually price them and to put a description. So these were listed by somebody else. It says what it is. Like this one here is vintage signed sterling charm bracelet with 15 charms. It has a price. It's solid sterling. There's like 5-6 ounces of sterling in here. Just one random item. Here's a 1930s 40s pin. N64 is the number. It's got the price of list price, $24. Here's Corocraft, 1930s jewelry bracelet. Actually, this one's a earring and clip pin set right here. Here's another bracelet. Geometric mod 50s mid-century earrings. It just everything's in here. Pocket watches. And when you do it this way, it's real easy to find stuff. I may have to dump a few of these things out, but it's real easy. You're looking at the numbers are actually in this bag. Bag's not coming apart. And this bag here is actually the bag the other bags came with because I needed something bigger. So you can use all kinds of different sources to store these in. Again, I've got the links down below to everything that you're seeing here. I guarantee you what I'm recommending, I honestly do use, as you can see, and I use it very well and very efficiently. Here's actual genuine cultured pearls, brand new with the paperwork, you know, 5750, N123. You can look this up. It's listed as we speak. Here's some heavyweight bracelets, mid-mod century, 1950s. I even have mod and fab in here for the title on these. And I just leave this paper in here. When I sell these, though, I remove all pieces of paper. I never mail anything with any of these identification papers in them. So, you know, that's just what I do. I've got bins for 8mm films, bins for slides. And you can bin them up like this. You can put the dividers, as I've showed you, for pretty much anything. Even slides, even photos, whatever the case may be, as long as it fits in this type of bin, you're all set. Let me put this back. Other items here. Like, let's say it's small boys' toys. Now, I've got other bins for toys. These are small ones, though. So I know off the bat, if it's small, it's in one of these. If it's even smaller than this one, I've got other bins. Like here, this is Toy Soldiers. Now I've got many Toy Soldiers bins. This one is just random ones. Now I've got ones for like Warcraft and things like that in other bins, and it just literally says Warcraft on it. And again, everything is bagged in plastic. Everything is sealed. Even if it already was sealed, it goes in a new one. You know, here's Muscle Men all bagged up here. Here's some Marx toys. Vintage, I'm not even sure which ones are those. Here's like Pewter Dragons. Everything has its place. 1950s Marx or Auburn, I think these actually are. So, I mean, everything has a spot. Everything just needs a label, and you need to just know where it's at. And if you have a big, huge area and you've got a ton of stuff, you can actually make a chart and just mount a chart on the side of one of your racks that says where every bin is, and just put them back in the same spot. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's taken us a little bit of time to figure out where to put everything, but once you've got the time and figuring out what goes where and how to do it, you're all set. And again, I try and wrap everything. Like this one here, everything is separately bagged. Everything. That way nothing's damaged, none of the little strings. This is a puppet with strings on it, so none of the strings get damaged. Mark's toys in here, all together. It's in a safe spot. Nothing's going to crush these. Nothing's going to damage it. G.I. Joe items. I mean, whatever I need. Dick Tracy action figures, sealed cards, or cars, die-cast cars like Matchbox still sealed. Those go into these bins too. They're all, you know, sealed in plastic ahead of time. So when it's time to mail, boom, I just grab it. And I would recommend sealing everything. Let me show you a clothing one too. Here is a clothing bin. And it's same thing. This is clothing B. Now I've got up to, I think, like maybe F in clothing now. We've eliminated some, so anyway. And I'll show you the same thing. Whenever I've got clothing in here, again, it's got a number. This is B52. It says what it is. It's a Pendleton size 12 McDuff tartan pants. These actually just sold today, I think, actually. Here is a Swedish jumpsuit from mid-mod century, number 57. So, I mean, everything is bagged ahead of time. Vintage YMCA sash made out of leather. Everything is bin. Wallets. Everything goes in a bin just like this. What is this? This is a Rafi Petite small skiing jacket from the 80s. I mean, this is like a $50 jacket. So, I mean, everything can be bagged. Everything can be binned and just have a number on it. That's all there is to it. And if you want to be even extra safe, put the bin number on each piece of clothing. So instead of me just writing a 52, you might want to put B52. So let's say you pull this out and you forget where you took it out of. You already have the number on it. So, and many items I have that number on it already like that. Let me show you a few more items. I'm going to show you some more items. Books and magazines the same way. I've got double layers in here. There's 2 stacks on some of these. And I divide those up. I just make a little wall between the front and the back of these. Let me show you the size of this. Now these get heavy. So you've got sheet music in here. I've got several stacks. They're all alphabetized. So if I open this up, I know off the bat that it starts with A. Right here, A Faded Summer. And the top stack are all sheet music that are small format, modern day size. And then below it, I've got the large format, or in this case, it's on a separate row. So, and you can mix and match. You know, some bins I have just comic books, and some bins I have comic books and other things in. As long as you label everything, it doesn't matter where you put it. So, that's just all there is to it. These short, narrow bins work just as good. And again, I've got the label on the side. So, literally that is it for everything. I've got camera items on the top. I've got small-sized hardbound books. I've got books down here. Record bins are the same thing. 45s I put in the smaller bins over here. I've got 78s just lined on the bottoms of most of the shelves. You also want to, when you're storing these items, keep the heavier items on the ground, as close to the ground as you can get. Never store anything on the ground itself, but all the way on the bottom of the shelf. That way it's a lot easier to pull out the heavier items. So books, anything heavy goes down. These are easy to pull out since they're half size, so I don't worry about loading these up too much. Magazines are stored the same way. Magazines. And it says what's on them, what type of magazines in there. Some of these bins carry just magazines. Some carry catalogs or movie-related magazines, the whole works. So, and even when some of these accordions, there's, as I said, different sizes, you can store like movie posters, the folded kind in here. Now, rolled posters will fit in one of these bins as well, too. You just run them lengthwise the same way you would do anything else, and you can just put them in here and mark on the outside like poster number N1 through say N30 is in this bin, whatever the case may be. Now, I've got many bins like this, so we've probably got maybe 100 or more of these bins full in this building. So, and on racking, when I'm doing like records, I've got half-size bins that are half of this, so you know they're shorter. They don't go back as far, so I can fit. I fit less in them, but it actually helps me with the weight-wise because records are so heavy. So again, that's what I use for everything. Again, these postcard sleeves I use for storing anything that fits in there. I don't care if it's postcards or not. If it fits in here, it goes in here. If it's damageable or it's something rare or high dollar, it goes in one of these sleeves, and then it goes in one of these bins. So you've got this size here for the postcard size and down, which again is 3 11/16 by 5 3/4. If it's bigger than that, then it goes in a bigger size one. And this one is 5 by 7. It'll hold the 5 by 7 postcards, trade cards, whatever the case may be. These would be good too, these smaller ones for baseball cards. And then you can get the top loaders too. I don't have a top loader right here in front of me, but I will include a link to the top loaders that I get. I do put top loaders on for my personal cards or for really high dollar cards. Like a $400 card is going to go in this, then it's going to go in a top loader, and then that top loader will be sealed in one of these. So those of you who bought my postcards and things from us, you know that's how I send these out in. So anyway, and again, as I said, there's 10 by 16 or 10 by 14 bags that will carry and save most of the sheet music large formats. I've got 3 or 4 sizes of these, and you just have to know what you can fit in what. And after you've done this a while, you'll know. And as I said, I do put stuff in bags prior to it being sold because that way the item is not going to get damaged in storage. I'll list the sizes down below in the description there with links, as I said, for pretty much everything you could think of for storage. Now, don't go buying a ton of extra stuff if you're just starting off until you know you're going to be able to sell and it's going to be a business you're going to want to do. Not everybody's going to like paper. Just like I'm not a big fan of selling clothing anymore. I love paper, though, so I don't care. It's fun to buy this. I like storing. I like packing up the stuff. So it's not a hassle for us at all. So just keep that in mind. But again, pretty much anything can be stored in the same manner. Writing a bin number on it or writing a description on what's in the bin is all you have to do. And as you see with it, I've got everything's just numbered. So it's just a matter of you get a sale on something, it's say P30, I look where P30 is, I grab P30 bin out, I look through the tabs until I find the P30 tab, and I just pull out the item. So, I mean, that's it for everything. And just like with the photos I just showed you, I can store comic books that way as well, too, or you can stand them up if you've got the boxes. Now, I like see-through containers for almost everything I have, because I can instantly see what's in there if the label's gone or anything else, or even to be able to tell where it's at. Like on here, you might easily be able to tell, hey, I just need to pop this up and I can pull a paperback out or whatever the case may be. It's just that simple for everything. And again, magazines are stored the same way in these bins. They're stored flat for the most part, or some of them, depending on the size, they'll store standing up in a taller bin as well, too. So it's just sourcing the bins for the items that you want, bagging the damageable items ahead of time, and then storing them in that facility. And if you really want to go gung-ho on it, make yourself a list or a spreadsheet on what bin has what if you really want to do that. I don't go to that extremes, but I do know what's in each one of the bins by my list sheets that I have. I make a list and assign employees what to list that day, which bin to put it into, and what items to put in that bin. So I can track down when something was listed. I know when any one of these items was listed. Even if I'm relisting it on eBay, again, it's going to change the date of the original lists if you're doing 30-day cycles. So you need to keep track of that information in another way. So as I said, I have a spreadsheet. I know who listed it, when it was listed, how many items were listed, what's in that bin, and the whole works across the board for everything. So that's what you want to be able to do with this when you're storing these. Anything can be stored like this, as I said. So it's just a matter of looking a little bit outside the box and thinking of what paper could be, how it could be damaged is the biggest thing. If you think it can be damaged by bending or something, put it in a different source, like whether it needs to be stood up or whether it needs to be laid flat. So just keep that in mind. But that's literally the basics on storage. There's not a lot to it. Just label everything, number everything, and keep it where it belongs. That's all you got to do. But that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some good ideas. And if you have any questions, just please put them down below, and I'll be happy to suggest other ways to store things if you are having problems with it. Again, Don the Auction Professor, please hit the like button down below if you enjoyed it. You can also hit the bell icon up top to be notified when we post new content. Subscribe and tell a friend.